Yes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. Text 1. Shri Shuka Uvacha. अत्र सर्गो विसर्गश्च स्थानं पोषणम् उत्तयः मन्वन्तरे सानुकथा निरोधो मुक्तिराश्रयः.
Translation. Shri Sukadev Goswami said, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 10 divisions of statements regarding the following: the creation of the universe, sub-creation, planetary systems, protection by the Lord, the creative impetus, the change of Manus, the science of God, returning home, back to Godhead, liberation, and the summum bonum.
Text 2. दशमस्य विशुद्ध्यर्थं नवानाम् इह लक्षणं वर्णयन्ति महात्मानः श्रुतेनार्थेन चाञ्जसा.
To isolate the transcendence of the summum bonum, the symptoms of the rest are described sometimes by Vedic inference, sometimes by direct explanation, and sometimes by summary explanations given by the great sages.
Text 3. भूतमात्रेन्द्रियदीयां जन्मसर्ग उदारतः ब्रह्मणो गुणविसाम्यात् विसर्गः पौरुषः स्मृतः.
The elementary creation of 16 items of matter, namely the 5 elements fire, water, land, air, and sky, sound, form, taste, smell, touch, and the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and mind, is known as sarga, whereas subsequent resultant interaction of the modes of material nature is called visarga.
Text 4. स्थितिर्वैकुण्ठविजयः पोषणं तद् अनुग्रह मन्वन्तराणि सद्धर्म उत्तय कर्म वासनः.
The right situation for the living entities is to obey the laws of the Lord, and thus be in perfect peace of mind under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Manus and their laws are meant to give up right direction in life. The impetus for activity is the desire for fruitive work.
Text 5. अवतारानुचरितं हरेश्चास्यानुवर्तिनां पुंसाम् ईशकथा प्रोक्ता नानाख्यानोपभ्रमिहितः.
The science of God describes the incarnations of the personality of Godhead and his different activities together with the activities of his great devotees.
Text 6. निरोधो अश्यानुशयनम् आत्मनः सह शक्तिभिः मुक्तिर्हित्वा न्यार्थरूपं स्वरूपेण व्यवस्थितिः.
The merging of the living entity, along with his conditional living tendency, with the mystic lying down of the Mahavishnu, is called the winding up of the cosmic manifestation. Liberation is a permanent situation of the form of the living entity after he gives up the changeable gross and subtle material bodies.
Text 7. आभासश्च निरोधश्च यतो अस्त्य अधवसित्यते स अश्रय परं ब्रह्म परमात्मेति शब्दते.
The Supreme One, who is celebrated as the Supreme Being or the Supreme Soul, is the Supreme Source of the cosmic manifestation, as well as its reservoir and winding up. Thus, he is the Supreme Fountainhead, the Absolute Truth.
Text 8. यो अध्यात्मिको यं पुरुषः सो असाव एवाधिदैविकः यस्तत्रो भयविच्छेदः पुरुषो है आदिभौतिकः.
The individual person possessing different instruments of senses is called the Adhyatmic person, and the individual controlling deity of the senses is called Adhidevik. The embodiment seen on the eyeballs is called the Adibhautik person.
Text 9. एकम् एकम् एकतरा भावे यदा नोपलभामहे त्रियतं तत्र यो वेद स आत्मा स्वाश्रयाश्रयः.
All three of the above mentioned stages of different living entities are interdependent. In the absence of one, another is not understood, but the Supreme Being, who sees every one of them as a shelter of the shelter, is independent of all, and therefore he is the supreme shelter.
Text 10. पुरुषोऽङ्गं विनिर्भित्य यदा सो स विनिर्गतः आत्मनो अन्यनम् अन्विच्छन् अपोषक्चिशुचिः शुचिः.
After separating the different universes, the gigantic universal form of the Lord Mahavishnu, which came out of the causal ocean, the place of appearance of the first Purusha Avtara, entered into each of the separate universes, desiring to lie on the created transcendental water, Garbhodaka.
Text 11. तास्व अवासित स्वसृष्टासु सहस्रं परिवस्त्रान् तेन नारायणो नाम यद् आपः पुरुषोद्भवः.
That Supreme Person is not impersonal and therefore is distinctively a Nara or person. Therefore, the transcendental water created from the Supreme Nara is known as Nara, and because he lies down on that water, he is known as Narayana.
Text 12. द्रव्यं कर्म च कालश्च स्वभावो जीवे एव च यद् अनुग्रहतः सन्ति न सन्ति यद् उपेक्षया.
One should definitely know that all material ingredients, activities, times, and modes, and the living entities who are meant to enjoy them all, exist by his mercy only. And as soon as he does not care for them, everything becomes non existent.
Text 13. एको नानात्वम् अन्विच्छन् योगतल्पात् समुत्थितः वीर्यं हिरण्मयं देवो मायया व्यसृजत् त्रिधा.
The Lord, while lying on his bed of mystic slumber, generated the seminal symbol, golden in hue, through external energy, out of his desire to manifest varieties of living entities from himself alone.
Text 14. आधिदैवम् अथाध्यात्मम् आधिभूतम् इति प्रभुः अथैकं पौरुषं वीर्यं त्रिधा भिद्यत तच्छृणु.
Just hear from me how the potency of his lordship divides one into three, called the controlling entities, the controlled entities, and the material bodies in the manner mentioned above.
Text 15. अन्तः शरीर आक्षात् पुरुषस्य विचेत्ततः ओजः सहो बलं ज्ञाने ततः प्राणो मोहान् असुः.
From the sky situated within the transcendental body of the manifesting Mahavishnu, sense energy, mental force, and bodily strength are all generated, as well as the sum total of the fountainhead of the total living force.
अनुप्राणन्ति यं प्राणः प्राणन्तं सर्वजान्तुषु अपानन्तम् अपानन्ति नरदेवम् इवानुगः.
As the followers of a king follow their lord, similarly, when the total energy is in motion, all other living entities move. And when the total energy stops endeavoring, all other living entities stop sensual activities.
Text 17. प्राणेनाक्षिपताक्षुत्रिद् अन्तराजायते विभोः पिपासतो जक्षतश्च प्राणमुखं निरभिद्यत.
The living force, being agitated by the Virat Purusha, generated hunger and thirst. And when he desired to drink and eat, the mouth opened.
Text 18. मुखतस्तालु निर्भिन्नं जिह्वा तत्रोपजयते ततो नानारसो ज्ञाने जिह्वया योऽधिगमयते.
From the mouth the palate became manifested, and thereupon the tongue was also generated. After this, all the different tastes came into existence, so that the tongue can relish them.
Text 19. विवक्षोर्मुखतो भुम्नो वह्निर्वाग्व्याहृतं तयोः जले चैतस्य सुचिरं निरोधः समजायत.
When the Supreme desired to speak, speeches were vibrated from the mouth. Then the controlling deity fire was generated from the mouth. But when he was lying in the water, all these functions remained suspended.
Text 20. नासिके निरभिद्येतां दोधुयति नाभस्वति तत्र वायुर्गन्धवहो ग्रहणो नसि जिग्रक्षतः.
Thereafter, when the Supreme Purusha desired to smell odors, the nostrils and the respiration were generated. The nasal instrument and odors came into existence, and the controlling deity of air, carrying smell, also became manifested.
Text 21. यदात्मनि निरालोकम् आत्मानां च तिदृक्षतः निरभिन्ने हये अक्षिणी तस्य ज्योतिश्चक्षुर्गुणग्रह.
Thus, when everything existed in darkness, the Lord desired to see himself and all that was created. Then the eyes, the illuminating God's sun, the power of vision, and the object of sight all became manifested. Hare Krishna. Thank you
Hare
for the
Krishna.
opportunity.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Namratam Mataji and Shriya Mataji. Very nicely recited. Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone. So welcome to today's chat session. We continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, the second canto, and we are reading and discussing chapter number 10. Chapter is entitled Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions, and today we will be reading and discussing text number 6 and 7. So we'll do as we normally recite the Mangalacharan prayers. So please feel free to recite behind muted mics. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutan Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Satidevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadeshatarine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, Shukadeva Goswami is going to be discussing the 10 characteristics of a Purana. Actually, it's just not ordinary Purana, but a Mahapurana. For any literature to be considered a Mahapurana, it has to incorporate these 10 characteristics. And this is very rarely found in any scriptures. They are very Vedic literatures. They may have one or two or a few of the characteristics, but to have them all 10 present to the degree that they are present in the Srimad Bhagavatam is rare. So the 10 characteristics are mentioned in the first two verses of this chapter. And then from verses 3 to 7, these characteristics are defined, or these topics are defined. So very quickly, because we've discussed it already, verse 3 has Sarga and Visarga, primary creation and secondary creation. Those topics are discussed, defined. Then verse 4 has the next four, Sthanam, Poshanam, Manvantara, and Uti. So we know Sarga is primary creation, and then Visarga is secondary creation. The Lord is the primary creator because he supplies all of the ingredients. And Lord Brahma is secondary creation because he takes the primary ingredients provided by the Lord and he puts into place the secondary creation. Sthanam means right situation for living entities. And the definition is Stitir Vaikunta Vijaya, the victory of the Lord of Vaikunta. Poshanam is maintenance. That's again the second line of text number 4. And we are being maintained by the mercy of the Lord. Manvantara is the reign of the Manus. They show how to carry out the perfect occupational duty. Uti. Just so I'm maybe going a bit too fast. You will notice as we read to the Bhagavatam, there's many descriptions of the various Manus. And Uti is sometimes known as the impetuous for activity or the desire for fruitful work. Ishanukata is the signs of God, the incarnations of the Supreme Lord in his different activities together with the activities of his great devotees. That is very apparent in the Bhagavatam. We go through the Das avatar and then Shakti Avesh avatars and Guna avatars, all in the different angles of understanding God. So today in verse 6 and 7, we'll cover 3 characteristics: Nirodha, Mukti, and Ashray. Nirodha means the winding up or the merging of the living entity within the mystic lying down of Lord Mahavishnu. Mukti means permanent situation of the living entity's form, gives up the changeable bodies. That's Mukti. And then Ashray, the supreme shelter. The Lord is the supreme shelter because he is the cause of creation, maintenance, and destruction of the universe. who is known as Paramatma or Param Brahma. I will discuss that a bit more detail now in these verses, just to give you an overview. Ishanukata, Nirodha, and Mukti. Nirodha, Mukti, and Ashraya. Nirodha means winding up. Mukti means liberation, and Ashraya means shelter. So this is today's discussion. So let me... Where does that go now? So hopefully you can see text number 6 on the screen. Nirodhasya nusyayanam atmana saha shaktibir muktir itvan invanyata rupam swarupena vyavastitihi. Nirodha, the winding up of the cosmic manifestation. Asha, of his. Anusayanam, the lying down of the Purusha incarnation Mahavishnu in his mystic slumber. Atmanaha, of the living entity. Saha, along with. Shakti, be with the energies. Mukti, liberation. Itva, giving up. Anyata, otherwise. Rupam, form. Swarupena, in constitutional form. Vyavastitihi, permanent situation. Purport and translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The merging of the living entity along with this conditional living tendency with the mystic lying down on of the Mahavishnu is called the winding up of the cosmic manifestation. Liberation is the permanent situation of the form of the living entity after it gives up changeable, gross, and subtle material bodies. But what? We have discussed several times there are two types of living entities. Most of them are ever liberated, or nitya muktas, while some of them are ever conditioned. The ever conditioned souls are apt to develop a mentality of lording it over the material nature. Therefore, the material cosmic creation is manifested to give the ever conditioned souls two kinds of facilities. So the terminologies we normally find is Nitya Siddha and Nitya Bhada. Nitya Siddha is the eternally liberated souls, and Nitya Bhada is the eternally conditioned souls. We say eternal because it's a very long time. One facility is that the conditioned soul can act according to his tendency to lord it over the cosmic, and the other facility gives the conditioned soul a chance to come back to Godhead. So after the winding up of the cosmic manifestation, most of the conditioned souls merge in the essence of the Mahavishnu, personality of Godhead, lying in his mystic slumber to be created again in the next creation. But some of the conditioned souls who follow the transcendental sound in the form of Vedic literatures are thus able to go back to Godhead, attain spiritual and original bodies after quitting the conditional gross and subtle material bodies. The material conditioned bodies develop out of the living entity's forgetfulness of their relationship with Godhead. And during the course of the cosmic manifestation, the conditioned souls are given a chance to revive their original status of life with the help of revealed scriptures, so mercifully compiled by the Lord in his different incarnations. Reading or hearing of such transcendental literatures helps one become liberated even in the conditional state of material existence. All the Vedic literatures aim at devotional service to the personality of Godhead. And as soon as one is fixed up this point, he has once becomes liberated from conditioned life. The material gross and subtle forms are simply due to the conditioned soul's ignorance. And as soon as he is fixed in the devotional service of the Lord, he becomes eligible to be freed from the conditioned state. This devotional service is transcendental attraction for the Supreme on account of his being the source of all pleasing humors. Everyone is after some pleasure of humor for enjoyment, but does not know the supreme source of all attraction. Rasus vaisa rasam hi evayam labdvan nandi bhavati. The Vedic hymns inform everyone about the supreme source of all pleasure. The unlimited fountainhead of all pleasure is the personality of Godhead. One who is fortunate enough to get this information through transcendental literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam becomes permanently liberated to occupy his proper place in the kingdom of God. So Nirodha. Nirodha means winding up. So there's two types of winding up. One is partial during the day of Lord Brahma, and then there's complete, and that's at the end of the life of Lord Brahma. So it is explaining what happens to those living entities that have not reached the liberated platform at the time of dissolution. They are wound and they are kept within the body of the Lord. So in that sense, we understand that the Lord is giving shelter to the living entities. Now, this is not to be mistaken about with the Mayavadi understanding of impersonal Brahman realization. The Mayavadi concept is when one merges, one loses his individuality or her individuality. But according to this merging described in this verse, the living entities enter to the body of the Lord as individual souls. And eventually, when there's another creation and the Lord glances and he penetrates the universes with the living entities are individual. Therefore, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the 2nd chapter, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor any of the kings on this battlefield. So, by that statement of the Lord, we understand that we are eternally individual. Krishna is eternally individual. There's never a situation of merging of individualities. The second part of this verse deals with mukti. Mukti idvan yatha rupam swarupena vyavya stitihi. So how is liberation understood? So the verse says liberation is the permanent situation of the form of the living entity after he gives up the changeable, gross, and subtle material bodies. So Bhagavatam is really clarifying what is liberation. Anyata rupam swarupena vyavastitihi. That ultimate liberation, or the liberation that is being mentioned in the Bhakti Shastras or in Srimad Bhagavatam, is of a certain characteristic. So it's the form of the living entity. Eternally, the living entity, liberation means realizing one's eternal form. Jivera Swarabhoi, Krishnera Nitya Das, after giving up this changeable body. And it's interesting that Prabhupada translates that this liberation is the permanent situation of the living entity, meaning generally the general understanding is once the living entity is liberated, then that liberation is permanent, leaves the material world permanently. So Prabhupada explained very interestingly, yeah, the importance of the Shastras, the importance of transcendental form of sound, which comes from the Vedic literature. In this purport, Prabhupada is giving the clue by which one attains liberation. This mukti. Mukti is achieved by the spiritual process of hearing. And hearing from where? From the transcendental sound from the Vedic literatures. And we generally understand by Vedic literatures, we mean Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, the Puranas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, and so on. And Prabhupada says that all of the Vedic literatures aim at devotional service. So one may have a spiritual master, one may read the Vedic literatures, but if it doesn't culminate in devotional service, serving the Lord, liberation is never achieved. Never achieved. And Prabhupada writes so nicely that this devotional service is transcendental attraction for the Supreme according on account of his being source, the source of all pleasing humours. So Krishna is the source of all pleasing humours. Rasa vaisa rasam hi evayam labdvanadi bhavati. That Krishna is the source of all enjoyment. So that is the real liberation, entering into the transcendental service of the Lord. Therefore, he said, if one is fully engaged in devotional service, even in this life, that person is considered to be liberated. Because here the person is performing devotional service 100%, and then the next realm, in the realm of liberation, they're also performing devotional service. So if the activity is the same here, with the activity that's same in the spiritual world, even while living in the material world, one can be considered to be liberated. Prabhupada concludes with a very important statement for us. And one who is fortunate enough to get this information through transcendental literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam become permanently liberated to occupy his proper place in the kingdom of God. So if we continue taking advantage of Srimad Bhagavatam, all that the Lord has given us in Srimad Bhagavatam, and we assimilate that information very nicely, then Prabhupada is saying it's guaranteed. It's guaranteed. Prabhupada just doesn't say liberated. He says permanently liberated to occupy his proper place in the kingdom of God. So this is the great wonder of literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam. It's guaranteeing that if we sincerely stick to reading and studying and understanding Srimad Bhagavatam, liberation is guaranteed. Mukti is guaranteed. So moving on, but before I do, any questions, comments, or reflections on this particular verse? before we move on to the next verse? Anyone?
Hare Krishna, Vrindavan, Chandra Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare
Thank you. Please expand the voices. Also, just to confirm that the people who are kind of very much in understanding Srimad Bhagavatam and realize the knowledge properly, and also they become kind of beyond the modes of material nature. And so on the path of the devotional service, so even though they are living in this material world, they are still liberated. And when they leave their body, they also, when they go to the spiritual world, because they are in liberated condition. So then serve Krishna in the spiritual world with their, of course, they're liberated, so they can serve Krishna, the spiritual world. Did I understand? Did I
Yes,
understand?
yes, that's correct, Mataji. Yeah. While living in this world,
Yes.
Performing devotional service, Prabhupada gives the example: you take iron, you put it in fire, the iron becomes fire because it emits heat, and it becomes red hot like fire. So one is completely engaged in devotional service. Even the body, according to Srila Prabhupada, even according to Srila Rupa Goswami in Nectar of Devotion, the body even becomes completely spiritualized. So our understanding is that everything comes from Krishna. Everything is Krishna's energy. So in one sense, we can say, if properly used, everything is spiritual. It only becomes material if we use it wrongly. Yes. Thank you for that, Mataji.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Anyone else? Has anything else they'd like to add or reflect on from text number 6? Okay, we shall move on. Text number 7. Abhasasya nirodasya yatosti adya vasyate param brahma paramatmeti sabjate. The Supreme One who is liberated as the Supreme Being or the Supreme Soul is the Supreme Source of the cosmic manifestation, as well as its reservoir and winding up. Thus, Supreme Fountainhead, the Absolute Truth. Purport. Synonyms for the Supreme Source of all energy, as explained in the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, are Janmadiyasya yata Vadanti tattva vidas tattva myajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabhyate. Called Param Brahma, Paramatma or Bhagavan. The word iti used here in this verse completes the synonyms and thus indicates Bhagavan. This will be further explained in the later verses. But this Bhagavan ultimately means Lord Krishna, because the Srimad Bhagavatam has already accepted the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Krishna. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. The original source of all energies of the summum bonum is the Absolute Truth, which is called Param Brahma, etc. And Bhagavan is the last word of the Absolute Truth. But even with the synonyms for Bhagavan, such as Narayan, Vishnu, and Purusha, the last word is Krishna, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate. Besides that, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the representation of Lord Krishna as sound incarnation of the Lord. Krishna svadhama bhagate dharma jnanadevi saha kalonastam drishamesha puranarkodinoditaha. Thus, by general conclusion, Lord Krishna is the ultimate source of all energies. And the word Krishna means that. And to explain Krishna, or the science of Krishna, the Srimad Bhagavatam has been prepared. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, this truth is indicated in the questions and answers by Sutta Goswami and great sages like Shaunaka. And in the first and second chapters of this canto, it is explained. In the third chapter, subject is more explicit, and in the fourth chapter, even more explicit. In the second canto, the absolute truth of the personality of Godhead is further emphasized, and the indication is the Supreme Lord Krishna. The summary of Srimad Bhagavatam in 4 verses, as we have already discussed, is succinct. This personality of Godhead is the ultimate issue. In the ultimate issues confirmed by Brahma in his Brahma Samhita as Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha. So it is concluded in the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The subject matter is elaborately explained in the 10th and 11th cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the matter of the changes of the Manus or Manvantaras, such as Swayam Bhuva Manvantara or Chakshusa Manvantara, as they are discussed in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Krishna is indicated. In the 8th canto, the Vaishvavata Manvantara explains the same subject indirectly, and in the 9th canto, the same purport is there. In the 12th canto, the same is further explained, specifically regarding the different incarnations of the Lord. Thus, it is concluded by studying the complete Srimad Bhagavatam that Lord Krishna is the ultimate summum bonum, or the ultimate source of all energy. And according to the greater whispers, the indications of the nomenclature shall be differently explained as Narayan, Brahma, Paramatma, etc. So quickly to recap, this verse is dealing with Ashraya. Ashraya means shelter. And who is considered to be the ones that give us shelter? That person or individual that gives us protection from dangers. That individual or person who maintains us. That person is known as the supreme Ashraya. There may be different types of Ashrayas that give us shelter, but it's only Krishna that has the potency to maintain us and to protect us in all situations. Therefore, Krishna, this verse is saying, he who is the cause of creation, just like we come from our parents, our mother, so we come from Krishna. Maintenance, we know that everything is being provided by Krishna. If Krishna stops to provide, then we will die. And finally, he, as Prabhupada says here, he gives us the knowledge by which we can come to him. In all aspects, Krishna is our shelter. Krishna is our only shelter. That's what we should always feel in life. For our maintenance, for our protection, for everything that happens in our existence, Krishna is our only shelter. And all of the Vaishnava literatures teach us that this Sharanagati, this principle of surrender completely to Krishna. Okay, it's 8:30 now. shall stop here. These different characteristics will be elaborated to some degree in the following verses also, especially Sarga and Visarga. Okay, any questions or comments? Corrections?
Hare Krishna, Vinod Chandra Prabhu. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
wonderful explanation. What I understand now, I mean, this second canto is very, very important, I find. It's so important. It's got a lot of, how do you say, many gold dust, gold, sort of gold itself, isn't it? I mean, so much in detail about Krishna, actually. You know, like we think that we are giving protection to our children, parents, you know, feel that they're giving. Actually, Krishna is giving is the shelter, all the protection. They're just working as a tool,
Mm.
you know, a tool, so that everything is coming from Krishna. But nobody can actually claim, oh, I'm protecting. Because we are thinking, then I'm protecting my child, I'm doing this, actually, I'm not doing. I think when that comes in the heart very strongly, we kind of, it helps us not being, you know, in the situation that we feel so grateful to Krishna. Feel so grateful. I think more we read Bhagavatam, more we feel connected to Krishna, more and more. That's why I feel this Bhadra campaign, we must, you know, pursue it to everybody to take Srimad Bhagavatam. And if everybody reads Bhagavatam daily, how much it takes the garbage in our heart and get in touch with Krishna's energy so nicely. So it's really, really wonderful. It's second canto, I find it very, very helpful. So much clarity is there. So, you know, I thank you all very much. So every day we are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. It's just, you know, we are very grateful, very grateful. It's all Krishna's arrangement, though. Nothing happened without Krishna's arrangement. So we must, I mean, every year because I can't go door to door, or so I just ask all my contact, I just beg them, ask them to give some donation, you know, so that we can collect and sponsor some Srimad Bhagavatam, so that can be distributed. And I mean, everybody does whatever capacity they have. They all donate something. So I'm very, very grateful. So every year we manage to distribute some Bhagavatam. So it's such a wonderful, wonderful literature. This is the must literature we must have at home. Without it, it's just zero. It's so value, so much value. Thank you so much for your wonderful class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. It's very inspiring to hear your realizations, Mataji. You can see by the way you speak that you are getting a certain taste for the Bhagavatam, a certain appreciation for the Bhagavatam. And that's the goal. That's the goal. We should feel like that.
Thank you.
Srimad Bhagavatam, you know, is our friend, our everything is Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes, and what we will find out as we go through the Bhagavatam, these different topics that we've covered in this chapter or in these verses, different pastimes of the Lord with his devotees. You'll see that these 10 characteristics or these 10 topics are coming. So what we can do is, as we read Bhagavatam, you know, we can have these list of 10 topics or characteristics, and then we can see, okay, this particular pastime or this incident, you know, which topics is being covered. And generally our Vaishnavacharyas have explained that. And if we read the Bhagavad Subodhini, you'll see at the beginning of each canto, the author, Gauranga Darshan Prabhu, It'll emphasize, like this is Poshana, this is Ashraya, this is Manvantara, this is Utti, and this is Nirodha, and so on. These topics are clearly there.
Nice. Yeah, when I went to Parikrama, I think I went to Bombay. That's when I got the set from there.
Oh.
Yes, it's very nice. He's written it so nicely.
Very nice.
Thank you.
They're available from the Manor shop also.
Manor now, yes, it's Manor.
And also, I've got most of the Subodhini on my phone.
Oh, yes.
You can download it from Kindle. It's very cheap. It's like £2-3 only.
Oh,
yeah.
I've got it. I mean, I got it from Bombay.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Shriya Mataji, you've raised your hand.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for wonderful class. Prabhu, I wanted to ask about Subodhini. Is it delivered at home also?
Yeah. When I bought mine, it got delivered at home.
From Manor?
Yeah, from Manor, and also from Amazon.com. .co.uk. And you can get it electronically too. So I've got both. I've got the hard copies, the books, and I've also got it on my phone, because sometimes you read on the move, and your phone is nice too. And it's very cheap. It's only a few pounds.
Okay, Prabhu. How much is it, Prabhu, if you don't mind, in Manor?
The Amazon ones, I think I bought for like $3.50, and then the these books, Subodhi, these ones I probably got like, I don't know, £7-8. I can't remember. I've got up to, I think he's got the full series. I've got up to the 9th canto at the moment. I need to get the 10th canto ones still.
How many are there, Prabhu? Total, how many cantos? I mean, how many books have they written?
It's Subodhini for each of the cantos, Mataji.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else got any questions, comments, or reflections? Okay. Thank you very much. All glories to your service. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Rubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice. Hare Krishna.
Nice class. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the nice
Prabhuji, nice class. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.